Welcome back to Hold On My Baguettes. Today we're gonna talk about sex, sex. I don't know if I can say this word online, but I'm not monetized yet on my YouTube channel and the podcast, I guess. So I think we're fine. Before getting in our subject and talking about smut, which is sexual content in books and how, based on other people's opinion, it can be bad for you, and by you I mean for women, because it's always the same problem in life, it's always a woman. We're gonna have a little chit chat, you and me. If you want to listen directly to the main subject, which is smut, you can just jump with the chapters on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, that's fine. But if you're staying right now here, I'm gonna talk, okay? So the first news, if you have watched the first episode and you have watched the video podcast, is I got a new haircut. Do you like it? Here we go again. I'm gonna talk about the haircut just after, but I need to tell you this. I got interrupted by my roommate knocking on my door, and I was filming, so I was having this in my hand. It's fine, they do know I have a podcast, and they do know me, okay? But what I didn't plan to see was one of the workers we have for the flat. I was like, why are you looking at me like that? I don't get it. And then I just remembered that I got my magic wand in my hand. And I was like, oh, my new business. That's fine. It's nothing. And you just look at me being like, oh yeah, that's fine. It's so funny to me. It's so funny. Anyway, back to the haircut. Last time I was telling you I really, really wanted a new haircut. And here we are. It's way shorter. And yes, I did it at home with the help of my roommate. Thank you to her. I mean, I will put you some video that I film. I feel like you're not helping, But it was a long process. It was also a disaster. And I had a mental breakdown. Okay. I had a mental breakdown. It was, first thing, I was so happy to be cutting my hair. I was, oh, that's so fun. I'm such a good person. I'm having so much fun. And then I think I cut too low and I started to panic. And I was, oh shit, I don't like it anymore. And I tried to fix it. I called my roommate and I was like, can you help me with the back? Can you do something? And she was helping, but nothing is straight. I was panicking, and I just spent literally more than 3 hours in the bathroom trying to fix it. And then I woke up at 4 a.m. the next morning and I was still trying to fix it in the middle of the night. And it was not making any sense, to be fair. Another news I want to share with you is we got snow, and it's the first time I saw some snow in Berlin, and it was perfect. It was really not much, okay? It was maybe 1 centimeter, but it's still snow, and it was so fun. I do remember it was Monday, and now we are Thursday, I think. It was Monday morning, and I was not mad, but I just wanted to stay in my bed, sleep some more. And then I opened my curtains and I was, oh my God, the snow. And I was just so happy. And I had my walk outside and I was walking in the snow and everything was better. My life was so much better because of the snow. And I was just like watching all the children outside playing, and it just says something with the snow. You could be that sad, and then the snow is here, and you're not sad anymore. Everything is fine. Anyway, that was such a good news to start the week with. On a much more sad note, I am in my luteal phase. We love that for me. For those who don't know, every month when you got your period, you got a cycle and you got 4 phases. It depends of every human, of course, but usually the luteal one is the one before you get your period, so more or less a week before. And usually it's known to be awful at some degree, of course. I've got some friends, they like, oh, I don't have anything. For me, I'm like, I kind of want to to disappear. Like, I feel so bad mentally. I cannot explain it. That's awful. I got this app on my phone and I got updates every day. Every time I'm in that phase, they like sending notification being like, oh, you might not be in the mood tomorrow. And I just spent the worst day ever. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm aware. I did feel like shit today. Thank you very much. So yeah, that was a tiny update of where I was mentally, and that's probably why I didn't record anything before. It's just so complicated sometimes to film and talk about yourself, your thoughts, and your feeling, and having to record yourself and see your face when you're in that mood and everything seems awful, even if you're literally the same person as the day before. But today, because your hormones are just fucking up your mind, you feel like a different person. The first point I had in my notes was the Goodreads Choice Awards. There's so many good videos about how the choices are bad. All the problem we have with that, okay. But I still wanted to express myself on it because it's looking bad, as always. And it just, I don't know why I'm still on Goodreads. I guess it's just the fact that I got all my data here and I don't want to put everything again on another app. But I'm pretty sure I might be able to transfer this to another app. I don't know, I need to check that. If you're taking the reader's favorite fantasy, for example, we do have... Oh, it's not here. Okay, great. But we had Alchemize and I was not so sure why he was here since he was literally published maybe a month before the awards and it's not making any sense. And it just, the selection is, well, not great. Someone was saying, and I will put the video in the description, on the screen, whatever I can find and do. Based on data, Goodreads is more than 77% of people coming from the US. And obviously, in all that percentage, it was mostly white people. Knowing that, you will understand and see that if, of course, all of these people are putting their data on the app, it will be them choosing which one is the best, and obviously then it will be less diverse because it's white people from the US, you know? And just before that, you got just people working in the publishing industry, which, same thing, are mostly white. At the point I'm recording this video, it's the last round of the Goodreads Awards, so I still don't know what are the winners, but we might talk about this in another podcast. A bit of a story time that happened to me a few days ago is me and my eater. You're like, okay, what is the story about that? Let me explain, okay? I'm living with 6 other roommates. That's a big flat, and the flat is owned, I guess, by an agency. So when we do have a problem, I'm texting someone, and that someone is sending someone, a worker, usually. But most of the worker, they don't speak English, which it's Germany, so fair enough. But it's just making everything so much complicated. So yesterday at like 9, I got these 2 big men knocking at the door, speaking German, being like, do you speak German? I was like, no. So one of them was speaking English, thanks. And they just look at the heater because I was telling them that it was making a lot of noise, how it was annoying, and they look at it. They were like, okay, great, we're gonna send you someone. And they also look at the heater in the living room and they said catastrophe. Why are you saying catastrophe? So they just living the life and waiting, and a new person is coming in the flat to fix my heater. This guy is just speaking German. Great. So I'm just trying to show him my bedroom and be like, okay, that's the heater, fix it please. And the guy just look at it, put something on, and it was like, oh no, there's actually no problem. What do you mean? There's no problem. So anyway, the heater is still doing the same thing, but at least I talk to someone in tiny German, I guess. Another point I had actually while I was walking yesterday was I don't know if it's a German thing or just Berlin or just my experience, but what I really love here is how they are working. So at work, we do have, it's like a to-do list, and we got a to-do list to check every single day. And in that to-do list, we got precise action we need to do for the shop every single day. And it's fucking precise. That's something you can read. That's something you can check. And I just love it. Like, my brain is so freaking happy to have a proper list, well organized with everything I need to do in a day. And I don't know again if it's Berlin, but never I had this in my other jobs. And I was the one trying to write everything on the paper, doing the to-do list myself for myself, so I could find a way to work properly with my brain and be happy about it, I guess. Because I just love to check something on a paper, on the iPads. It's so satisfying, and I need that. On the same note, I've got a subscription for fitness, sport, yoga, pilates. It's just like sports in general. It's really cheap. I'm paying 10 euros per month, and I can go wherever I want. So you're thinking, okay, great, so you're booking your thing, and if you want to, you just cancel it. No. But if you book something, you have to go. If you're not going, you're actually gonna pay. And usually the fees for no showing up are like between 5 and 15, which is usually more. That's what I'm paying for the whole month. So I'm gonna go. I mean, I'm saying that and I just canceled something this morning, but that's another point. And I just love that, because if I had the opportunity to just cancel without any weight behind, any price, I will do it. Because sometimes I'm just, it's not being lazy, but I'm just so not great with time and managing my time. For example, this podcast, recording this, will take maybe 1 hour of my time, something like that. In my mind, I needed to add the whole day to do it and just cancel everything else. It's not making sense. But if you're telling me, oh, well, you need to pay this amount of money, you need to go to your class now, I will go. And then during the class, I will feel so great and be happy to be there, actually. And it just this, two example, makes me love Berlin, because it's working so well with how I need things to work for me. I need little gifts, I need things to check, and I need someone behind. Like, for example, if I'm not going to my class, the teacher would be like, oh, where is she? I need my money. And just that alone is making me go. We are to the end of the list, but 2 good points. Yesterday, I went to yoga, and that's the studio who is just speaking German, usually. Most people do speak English, but the class will be in German. And that's fine now. I'm used to it, and most importantly, I know that it's gonna be in German, so I'm not surprised anymore. And yesterday, I went there, just check in. And the teacher was like, oh, are you new? Do you know the place? Do you speak German? I said no. she asked if it was okay because it would be in German. So we're just like explaining that I do know the place, that's fine. Usually I'm just looking at other people, and also I have classes in English in other places, so I do know the main thing, that's fine. And she was so nice. She tried to explain everything in English before the class, so I will not get lost. And one of the first things she asked was, do you know how to do the breath of fire? I said no, because I didn't know, but just how she asked it and just the name of it was so fancy, and I felt like a little fairy learning how to control my power. She was doing the class in German, but every time I could see her watching me, like just checking if I was doing the right thing, and sometimes she was just like switching in English to help me. She was so cute, and at the end we got this little chat, and she was like, oh yeah, I was checking on you the whole class to see if you were fine, but you were fine, and blah blah blah. And she was so nice, it just made my day. And lastly, I went to the movie theater yesterday. Yay! That's actually been weeks since I went there, but the thing is, I do have a subscription for the movies. It's every month I'm paying, and I actually need to go, so it will be worth it. And yesterday I went to see Wicked 2. And the fun thing is I haven't watched the first one. It's actually a thing with me. Usually, even with books, sometimes I'm reading the fourth one, and I haven't read all the one before. I really like it. I will probably watch the first one now that I did like the second one, just to see and have more context. But before going, I watched a tiny video to just get the main connection between the character. But it was so fun. It was so fun. And also I think the fact that it was a musical just helped me to get in the movie, you know. Acting, really great. And everything in terms of image was so nice. And since I studied VFX, so visual effects, and I have a tiny idea of how long it is to just do the CGI and everything in the background, and just seeing this movie, I was like, oh my god, I don't want to know how long it was to just create all of this. It seemed really long, and it was really nice to actually see. I think it's a good movie to see on a big screen. It was so fun, I like it. I think I might even go a second time to watch it again. Also, on the way there, because it was 45 minutes away from my flat, I decided to go and walk. And I had to cross the most cute streets. I had to cross by a Christmas market and then over Christmas light, and it was so nice. Now let's go to the main subject, okay? Which is smut. For a bit more context, I'm not a big fan of smut. That's not the most books I'm reading about. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, if someone is reading just romance with smut, I'm like, okay, great, thank you, just do you think that's fine? So when I saw this video with the title, Smut Addiction is Destroying and Ruining Literature, this is Aude editing the podcast talking. I got a tiny problem since the video I'm talking about and using as my main source is now not available, so I just got a screen of the title and my memory for it. So I'm very, very sorry that every time I'm mentioning that I will put some extracts. Well, it's not on internet anymore. I had to watch this video because this video was made by a woman, and I'm like, why are you doing this? I mean, if it was a man, I would have more maybe get it, but a woman being like, of a woman reading that type of books, it's really bad. Interesting. The video is starting with a first argument of if you were seeing a man in the street, on the bus, or whatever, and that man is watching or reading a porn magazine, anything related to that. You will be shocked, you will be like, oh no, that's not great, we might have children around, or just you don't want to see that. That's a fair point. And then she started comparing that to women reading books on the bus. And that's the first point where I was, okay, that's not a great argument there. One of my problem with that is the whole video, the whole argument is woman reading smut. And I don't get it why she just focus on women for one. And the second thing is she's just comparing things that is not the same thing. Because for me, if you have a man outside in public watching porn, it's not the same thing. Because if you're reading a book, you don't have the visual and you're not sharing with someone the visual. If a child is sitting next to you and for whatever reason you're reading Thing in the bus, and if you're reading the scene when the two main characters are really close to each other, it's not going to do anything to the child next to you. The child is probably not able to read, and if they do, that's another part of if they choose to read the page you're reading, which they probably won't. But they're just words on paper, they're not going to see anything. But if a man is sitting next to them watching porn, that's not the same thing. That's clearly not the same thing. And even if you do know the title of the book, let's say you're walking in a bus and you see this lady having 50 Shades of Grey. You know what the book is about, but that's it. You know the topic. So if that's something you don't want to get into, you just don't read the book. And that's it. You don't get flash in public because someone do have the book in their hands, And the other part is usually men watching porn outside, like literally on the bus. They will also have some sort of behavior pretty weird that happen with just watching of a woman or just being a bit more too explicit with their own body. But if a woman is reading smut in the bus, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna remove their clothes and just do weird shit. At most, they will be blushed and they will be giggling, and that's it. Another thing that I think was interesting is she said, we know from research that watching porn for men is bad. But she adds, we don't know about women. Then she just developed, if we don't know for women for porn, obviously we don't know the impact of reading sexual scene in a book. It's so funny that, again, things are divided. Like we do have research, we do have numbers and statistics for men, and we don't for women. So the real question here is reading smut actually bad for you or not? I will say probably not, but the thing is, okay, with porn, the thing and the problem is, one, just the industry and the workers behind, and just the fact that all the problem going with that. If you're reading smut, you don't involve in any workers, it's just an author writing. So on that note, it's not the same thing. On one way, you do support an industry who is not doing well. On the other one, you're reading a book, literally reading a book from an author which probably is fine and living in a nice place, probably, hoping so for them. The second problem was usually the access from the book from young people, which is a problem, and that argument is really valid. Reading smut and this type of content shouldn't be accessible for young people, obviously. The fact that it's not good for young people doesn't make it bad for adults. The problem here is, yes, you do have a lot of smut, sometimes in young adults, and it should be in that type of books because it's labeled as young adult. So no, you need to just label and categorize books in a better way so young people won't find this type of content, or at least their parents or the bookseller will know. And then you can try to fix that or make them aware of, just do something. Another point and argument of this was reading smut is bad in a way that you're gonna expect something else in real life. Because of course, in the book, everything is easy. Usually you don't talk about, I don't know, periods, condoms, and all the not so glamorous thing you can have during sex. I think and hope that when you're reading that type of content, you are aware. You are aware that, of course, it's fiction. So, of course, everything is perfect. Of course, if you're just reading a fiction, you don't have all the scene written. You don't have character A is going to the toilets. Like, you don't have everything because it's a book. You just have the good part of life. It's good to have all this discussion and communication and mention of period, condoms, whatever. But of course, if you're writing a romance and your point is escapism, entertainment, just being sexy, that's thing you're not gonna mention. You can find something you will like regarding of what you want if you want something true to life with communication and the weird stuff. You will find a few romance like that. But of course, if you're just going into romantasy with smuts, it's gonna be all perfect and nice and magical. But that's the point. If you don't want that, you can just switch your type of reading. My main issue is I feel like the argument is saying if you are reading, I don't know, ACOTAR for Fring about this strong male having powers and being really strong and able to do crazy stuff and making you come several times, you will think or expect that in real life. And I just don't get that point, because if someone is reading about fairies having sex, I don't think anyone in real life will expect the same thing. I mean, it can be in fantasy, that could be something you use to just get in the mood. But you're not gonna expect your partner to turn into a witch or a fairy or this monster you just read about in a book. I don't get it. I really don't get it. That's why I was reading so many articles about it. And I know some women are just like, oh yeah, I just want a book boyfriend, I don't want a real man. That's probably a problem, because of course these men are not real. And you're not gonna find one like that in real life, because it's fiction. That's the point. You're reading to escape or just to go entertain or learn things, but you're not gonna apply a book to your life. And it's the same thing with smut. You should use smut as, I don't know, some way to have fun, or just reading if you want, and that's the thing you like to read. But of course, it's never been a guide to your sexual life. Never. And even a fiction book with sex scene that sound more real, they're not a guide for your life, and nothing is. Even if you read biography or memoir or something, it can help, it can inspire you, but it's fiction or someone else's life. You're not gonna use that for yourself. And if you're not capable of reading a book and taking a step back to know what is real and what is not, I feel like that's more a you problem. That's a problem with the genre in general. Also, another point is smut is bad because it's promoting toxic relationships and dark romance, basically, dark theme and things that are not legal, are not great. And yeah, sure, I'm not saying the contrary. There's some trope in smut that are pretty weird. I don't think it's the main thing. I mean, you can just have smut, which is just smut. It's just sexual content, and that's fine. You like it, it's fine. And then you've got another part when they will romanticize rape, for example, which, no, we don't do that. And it's not really smut the problem, it's talking about these topics. And that's the topics you can get in any of the books or movies, technically. I guess if people want to read that kind of content, well, I will probably not be friends with that people, and that's still really not great. But if you're reading this on your own and you're just in your room and you don't promote that type of things and content online, why not? I mean, it's not great. And I mean, why are you romanticize this type of behavior? I don't get it. The real problem with me is more if you're reading a book about romanticizing rape, anything like that, and you're gonna put that online and be like, oh, that was such a good book, read it. Or just if you're promoting a book with smut and you just don't put any trigger warnings and you don't say anything about it, and you know that your audience is really young, that's bad. But if you know an influencer and you want to read smut and you're just doing your thing in your bedroom or your living room, whatever, where you want to read, why not? What is funny to me also is people are acting like sex in books are new and it just appears on TikTok in 2020. It was never a thing before when it was. It's like everything. It's like gay people. When people are like, oh no, that's such a trend, that's so new, that never happened before. And when you just learn a bit of history, that was there for ages, people. So I did a bit of research. You got so many texts with sex and just fiction like that. I'm gonna read a small, not that small, but a quote. And I'm gonna put any sources also in the description if you want to read the articles and know more about this. Historically, the romance genre and erotica/smut genre have coexisted, but I believe the genres only start turning into their modern day equivalent in two places. The modern romance style gets its beginning in the 18,000s with authors like Jane Austen and the Bronte sisters, popularizing romances from female perspectives. The modern smut novel has its beginning in the 20th century with bodice rippers, popularizing abusive and dangerous relationships as sexy. These romance books, recognizable by just a cover, were always an erotica subgenre despite being less popular. However, BookTok has made smut mainstream. With all that, we got a tiny timeline with a really fun article called A History of Smut. Smuttery. I like the name. One of the first texts before like the really old age was Victorian time. Then you got My Secret Life, a memoir, anonymously published over 7 years with 11 volumes, following the sexual life of a gentleman in Victorian England. Then we jump to 2010 with 50 Shades of Grey. I think it was like the main big thing we all know about. And then 10 years later, 2020 with BookTok. All I want to say here is it's not new. And just the fact that we got people being like, oh, that's so dangerous to read about that now, when it's been here for ages, just got me mad, especially when the problem is put just on women. Another thing that evolved with time was the covers. We all had this picture of old romantic books with the men shirtless on, and now it's more cute cartoons, cute covers, which I think, in a way, as a reader, I do prefer it because it's more nice aesthetic. I do feel less shameful to buy this type of content because usually the one I got is more romance, and the romance one, they do have a bit of smut, but for me it's just like a few pages. So if I'm reading a 400 romance with maybe 20 pages of smut, I do have smut in the book, but it's not the main plot. So I would like, and I do prefer to have my cover being more cute and romantic than something sexy and not good looking. I do get that it's confusing, and if you don't have any trigger warning, or if the book is not put in the right section. If just you don't read the back cover to know the plot, and then you will not be aware that the book has some smut in it, and that's a problem. But I think the evolution of the cover is a good thing. The not good thing is just how it's labeled and how it's put and being promoted online as something cute when it's something having smut in it. The main problem for me is, as I said, that all of this is on women and not just reading sex is a bad thing in general. And I do have a few quotes I want to read and share with you to talk more about this. Some of the most well-known examples are Lolita, a disturbing story of grooming, yet it's called a literary masterpiece, and American Psycho, which features graphic violence and sexual assault, but this one is of course considered cutting-edge satire. You can even look at modern fantasy giants like A Song of Ice and Fire. The series is filled with graphic sex, incest and sexual violence, yet it's hailed as a gritty, realistic epic. Also one of my favorite authors, Mark Lawrence, many of his books like The Broken Empire also feature dark, often brutal content, including disturbing sexual themes, and are praised for being raw, philosophical, or gritty, grimdark. But again, these books are considered literary, complex, and serious because they are written by men for a presumed male audience. The spice isn't questioned, the violence is respected, the male gaze is accepted. But when a woman writes, let's say, a fantasy novel with a consensual, with consent, emotional, spicy romance, it is just smut. See the problem? This isn't about sex, it's about who is writing it and who is for. And we're not questioning, or we're not saying anything bad about men reading a certain type of books. As I said with the quotes, lots of big fantasy books, the one you got even on TV now with TV shows, and that's the main books that men are reading, and we all know the story about these books, and we all ignore the fact that there's so many sex scenes inside and so many incest, violence and everything, and no one is saying anything. No one is like, oh, it would be so bad if your teenage boy just got his hands on Game of Thrones. But if you're having a girl and this girl is gonna read a romance, that's so bad. She's gonna change her view on the world and everything. That's gonna change her brain, poor little thing. I have to talk about the second part of the title of the video, was smut is ruining books. I have a problem with that also because I'm coming from France and I think it's a country with a lot of... we do like to be like, okay, real books are classics, philosophy, non-fiction maybe, and everything else is bullshit, you're not actually reading. Seeing and reading about this type of argument from other countries, I'm like, oh, fuck's sake, not again? How in the world smut is gonna ruin just books in general? It's a sub-genre. You don't have to read it. That's not gonna change how well written a classic is. It's not gonna change anything. And if you don't want to read it, you don't. That's as simple as that. The thing is complaining mostly about, oh, just poor girls and women reading about their stupid little books about smut and romance and not using their brain. But we let men, boys, just watch football for ages, for hours, and why is it? Do they learn anything? Do they talk about philosophy? Do they have any stimulation from watching other men running after a ball? No. But if it's a woman reading just for fun, we're gonna say something. Makes me mad. Also, I don't think it's really valid because it's not because you're reading smut that you're not gonna read a really good classic or you're not gonna read any other type of books. That's not because you're reading one subgenre that it's gonna make you stupid right away. And even that, why reading smut will you make you stupid? Like when you're talking about TV reality show, of course, you could watch anything with a bit more depth. But if you're watching one episode, one season of something, it's not gonna change your IQ. It's not gonna make you stupid right away. If you use your brain in any other way, shape, or form, you're fine. You just need to take a step back and obviously don't do the same thing, or just knowing that it's fiction and that's it. I will finish with this quote because I really like it, but it's about research and porn and how bad is it for men. The only research that has shown porn being bad is some study that showed that violent, misogynist men were more that way after watching conventional porn that reinforce their pre-existing feelings. The problem is not really porn, it's what you are doing with that. Obviously, if you're a man and you're growing up in a society that is just telling you, well, you're the king of the world, you can do anything with women, and you're watching porn made for men and watched by men, of course it's just gonna confirm and making everything worse. But usually that's not even the way women will consume it at all. Again, the problem is not porn, the problem is men. I think the real issue is the way society don't really like women's pleasure, women's entertainment, while they still giving men full freedom to consume right and enjoy whatever they want. So please go read your little book with smut or without it, that's fine. Just be aware. If you're writing one, please use trigger warning. If you're working in a bookshop, please put a sign or, I don't know, do something so young people won't have access to this. And if you are an influencer, just think twice before promoting anything online. I hope you like this first real episode about more deep topic. Also, if you want to interact and give me your opinion on the subject, you can leave a comment on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you are, and just finish my sentence being the real problem is, and then just let me know what you think. Let's see if it could be another discussion for a later episode or if it's just this one, we'll see. But I hope you like it. I hope you will maybe share it and help me build more with this podcast, and I will see you next Thursday for a more light episode, and it will be spoilers, it will be regarding dating. So yeah, see you.